thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
You're listening to A Quirky Journey, the healthy family podcast with your hosts Jo Whitten and Fuad Kassab.
Welcome back to A Quirky Journey. This is Fuad Kassab, and with me is my incredible co-host, Jo Whitten. Jo.
Dun, dun, dun.
You're back.
I'm back. No, actually, you're back.
I never left. I've always been here.
No,
Every time I look, I'm here.
Okay, but you weren't here for the podcast.
Ah, yes. And right. What's the podcast about today, Jo?
Okay, so Elyse and I were having a chat. We were at the Wellness Base Camp together, and we were having a chat about my talk and about what she's been doing. And she said, you know, one of the things that she gets asked so much as a GAPS practitioner is, why am I not healing quickly? And, you know, people are impatient to heal. And this is something that I've been talking about as well, that we really push ourselves and we beat ourselves up because we feel like we're not healing quick enough or we're not doing the right things. And then you start doubting yourself and start thinking, well, maybe this is, you swap and change diets and try and do all different things. But she talks about how healing takes time. And in this podcast, she's talking about the layers of healing. So, you know, people get very overwhelmed when they are not well, and sometimes with chronic illness, they don't know whether to go get testing, to do this diet, to do that diet, to do this protocol, to do that protocol, and it's like all over the place. And she talks about taking the first steps, what to do, taking that first layer of healing, and then taking your time to peel back each layer like an onion to get to optimal health, and how it does take time. And when she recommends doing testing and when she doesn't recommend doing testing, and all of that kind of thing. So, I found it really encouraging, and I hope that you guys will also. And this is part 2. So last week, we reshared the MTHFR, histamines, all of that kind of thing podcast, because that's got the nitty gritty scientific stuff that people were asking. And then this one talks about sort of going on from there. Okay, sure, you found out you have the MTHFR gene mutation. What do you do next? And so this is a really great podcast just for practical help in healing and taking your time and doing it properly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, on to the show, and thank you for tuning in. If you like the show, make sure you give it a 5-star rating on iTunes. So jump onto iTunes and give it your best rating ever, and that will help other people find it, because as we climb up the charts, the more people will be able to find us, and your help would be appreciated. Thanks so much, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day. Hi everyone, I'm here with the gorgeous Elyse. Hi Elyse.
Hello.
We're going to talk about all sorts of things today, but first I just want to mention that when we posted on the chat group about, in the GAPS groups about what we were going to talk about, we got a zillion questions about MTHFR. So what we thought we'd do is repost a podcast that we did a while ago about MTHFR, because that answers all those questions. So if you've missed that one, go back and listen to the podcast before this one. Elyse, do you want to talk about basically what we covered on that last podcast so that they know what's on there?
Sure. So as we just said, it was a little while ago, so we were just trying to rehash what we could remember that we spoke about. But we talked a lot about, I really went into methylation and about testing, about why I'm not that big on testing, about why Dr. Natasha isn't that big on testing, more so I should say, and how methylation is really something that can affect anyone regardless of MTHFR mutations. And so just to get a really good understanding of where the whole MTHFR and methylation issues sit with GAPS. And we do go into how you can test if you want to test, what kind of supplements are taken, and how GAPS actually helps resolve any of those kind of issues when it comes to epigenetics and stuff like that. So all those questions that people asked, that commented, they would be answered in that.
Because it's really common for people to I guess, get hung up on all the testing and feel like they have to get all the tests done before they can start to work on healing. But that's not really how you think, is it?
No, and that we're going to go into a bit today, I think.
Okay.
That's the kind of stuff I thought.
That people need to
talk about, today.
Understand. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, we both are really interested in the whole journey, and it's not something that happens overnight. It's something that takes a lot of time, and for both of us it's taken a lot of time to get to where we are now, and we still have more to do on our health. But something that I've been thinking about a lot is that it is very much a journey, and there are layers and seasons, and it just takes time. And Elyse mentioned to me that she would love to do a podcast about sort of peeling back the layers of healing and figuring out, what comes next. And if you could just expand on that a little, Elyse, that would be awesome.
Okay, so working with my clients, one of the biggest challenges for people is just the speed, or should I say the lack of speed, in which you progress in gaps. And there's the ups and downs of healing. It's like a roller coaster. I'm sure people are sitting there nodding their heads as I'm saying this. Like a roller coaster. I'm going up and everything's great and I'm going really well, and then all of a sudden I'm coming straight back down the other side again into another healing crisis. So I think we've been set up in society to think of healing as a really linear process. Like, I'm sick, and so I start doing something about it, and then I get better in like this linear kind of straight process from one end to the other. I just get better. Yeah. So we've been kind of set up to look at it in that way in the Western medical model, and in any kind of detox diet, fasting, lemon detox. I don't know, what are the other ones where people, that's kind of 2 week to whatever, 10-day, all that kind of stuff.
There's so many.
Yeah, all those kind of things where it's like this set period of time, which doesn't seem very long. And reset is another word that I hear thrown around a lot, that it's putting this idea in our heads that we can somehow just reset and then start again. And it just completely, our bodies do not work like that. We don't reset. It doesn't happen in 10 days. It doesn't happen in 2 weeks. It doesn't happen in 3 weeks. We can't just flush everything out and start again.
If only.
If only. That'd be much better.
Yeah.
And then I would be out of a job and I'd be happy because everybody would be able to get well so much quicker. But it's just not the way it works. We've been accumulating the damage and the toxins and the layers and layers and layers for generations.
Yeah.
It's been passed down. It's not just in our lifetime. It's generations of these issues. And if our body did want to let go of it all at once, we probably wouldn't make it through it.
No.
Because that's a lot of inflammation. That's a lot of toxicity. Yeah. So when you think of all the detoxing and all the healing, say, Jo, we're years into this that we've done in that time. Imagine if that all happened in 10 days. Yeah. Your body couldn't cope with it. So our bodies are really hard. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
imagine our adrenals. Adrenals already are suffering.
I thought it was really interesting that you wanted to talk about this, because it's sort of something that I've been thinking about a lot in the last few weeks as I've been healing from surgery and all the horrible stuff that went on for months. And and I spoke about it last weekend at the Wellness Base Camp. Thank you, Elyse, for helping me with my slideshow.
Okay. That was fun.
I have to mention this, guys. Elyse came and met me at the base camp in Brisbane, and she didn't get to stay the whole day, but I was doing a last-minute I was just doing a last-minute finishing my slideshow. And during the base camp, while other people were speaking, and Elyse sat there beside me and helped me. So it was awesome. We had a nice time, didn't we?
Yeah, it was fun.
But one of the things that I really always mention these days in my talks is you can't walk an hour into a forest and expect to get out in 5 minutes. It just doesn't happen like that.
That is great, because, oh, my gosh, I love analogies. Don't worry, I've written some down. You're going to get some analogies today.
Oh, good. Yeah, so it's...
I'm a real visual person.
Me too.
Yeah. Analogies are fun. I love that one. I'm going to use that one.
Yeah, do. I borrowed it off someone else. I don't know where I found it, but it made sense to me. I was like, oh, yeah. We're so impatient.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it.
We're so impatient.
I think another thing is I do talk about the Western medical model a little bit, and I think, Joe, especially for you recently, you've learned how positive the Western medical model is in certain circumstances, and it is. So when I speak about it, anyone that is part of that, I'm not being completely negative, but just aspects of it. Just that in Western medical model, we always need to be actively doing something. Like, you're not healing, you're not fixing something unless you are actively going in there and doing something about it.
Yeah.
Whereas when we're taking a GAPS approach, what we're doing is we're actually giving the body space to do it itself. Yeah. So that's something that I think people need to really remind themselves. To be healing, you don't need to be going, okay, what am I doing next? What am I putting in next? What am I,
I'm not doing enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
push yourself harder.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I'll have my clients say to me like, oh, I've plateaued. I'm just not really moving anywhere. But it's because we feel like some action's got to be happening. We're going to be adding more things in. We're going to be doing this, increasing that. Yeah. When you get to a place and you're plateauing a little with what you're doing and it's kind of staying the same, that's a good place to be.
Right.
And it's okay. And any time you spend that feels stagnant, your body is never stagnant.
Your body's building up in energy and building up healing while you're feeling like nothing's happening, right?
Exactly.
Bit like, please, do you have an analogy about bamboo? Have you heard about how bamboo grows, or at least some types of bamboo? No. I think it takes 7 years underground before you see anything happen above.
Wow.
We had friends that used to grow bamboo for, for eating.
Yeah.
And there was a type that it took years before you really saw any growth, and then suddenly it would just shoot up. But it was all happening underground, and I guess it's kind of like that, right?
It is. I'm actually just writing that down.
You better double check the facts, but I remember something about that.
Because one day I'm going to do a whole talk that is just analogies.
Yeah. They're the best. That's how visual people understand things.
Yeah. And that one about bamboo, that's perfect, because that wraps it up. It's like so much when you're feeling stagnant, you feel like nothing's happening and you're feeling like, oh, there's no progress right now. Yeah. That's when you just need to focus on something else in your life.
Yes.
And just stick with what you're doing. Just chip away at it every day and just stick with what you're doing. I know we're talking very broadly here, so people listening might not know where this sits with where they're at specifically, and I guess that's when it benefits from working with a practitioner so they can point that out to you. But if you are generally just moving through the stages of GAPS, for example, and say you get to about stage 4, because this is where I see this happen a lot, around stage 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
You feel like, all is good. Like, you've seen a lot of progress in the earlier stages, but now nothing really seems to be changing. That's the time when I would say stick with stage 4. You might be able to start adding a couple of stage 5 things in. It does. A lot of people do spend time dancing between those last 3 stages before full GAPS.
Definitely.
And I think it's a good time to try and focus on something else in your life and just let GAPS play its course. Yeah. Just let time pass.
And don't rush
because
through it.
In a lot of cases for people, it really is just a matter of letting more time pass. And they don't have to be changing anything they're doing. If everything's kind of going along okay, you just need to let more time pass and let more healing happen.
So do you find that a lot of people get to stage 4 or 5, feel like they're, they're going okay and nothing major is happening, so they just start adding foods in and maybe go a little bit too quickly? Does that quite often happen, and then they end up having to go backwards?
I do see that a lot. I think the later stages is where people kind of lose it a little bit and get a little bit confused with how to add things in, and also just getting that feeling of feeling pretty good now and kind of rushing through the last of it, and also a bit of GAPS fatigue. Let's
get this over and done with.
you can be pretty over it and want to get it over and done with. But another big mistake that I see people do, not so much that it's a mistake, but it's just unnecessary, is they kind of add some things in, aren't quite ready for it, get a little bit of their symptoms back and just go straight back to stage 1.
Yeah.
It is really unnecessary.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I really like to have conversations with people before they go ahead and do that, because that's when you can get gaps fatigue, when you just keep going. I just see those people, the chronic, they go back to stage 1ers.
Yeah.
And it's, no, you don't need to do that.
And also people that are going along really strictly, and then someone gives their kids something that they shouldn't eat and they freak out and want to go back to stage 1. I know this is kind of a rabbit trail, but maybe you could mention what you would suggest when that happens.
Yeah, so in the case of it, something they weren't meant to have, it really depends what it was, where the kid's at, how they responded to it, as to what you need to do. But first would never be for me to go back to stage 1 and like go back to the beginning.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple of days of just really focusing on stocks, and I would keep it stage 2. I'd keep the egg yolks in. So it might be a couple of days of really focusing on that, and lots of detox baths, lots of vitamin C, some activated charcoal, and then just see what they're at, is where they're at.
And they may just
everything else back in.
They may just not really have much of a reaction at all if they've had a fair bit of healing.
Yeah, that's it. So it just really depends where they're at. You just need to get it back to where they were. So if you can do that with just some stock, more stock and egg yolks over a couple of days, and then everything seems fine, then it is fine.
Yeah.
And when we were just saying then about the people that are moving on to the later stages, feel like they've rushed things a little bit too much, and they're like, I've got to go back and start again. So I think we've spoken about this in another podcast as well, but I think it's a good idea to repeat it anyway, because this is one even I need to repeat to myself sometimes, is that all the healing, it doesn't all happen on intro. The point of intro is just to give you that good period of deep repairing, and it's like that big head start. It's like giving you a jump start in healing, but it's not all the healing. So I just see people get to stage 5 or 6 and there's still these little issues that are hanging on, and they're like, but I've got to just do intro again.
Yeah.
Probably not. Intro is really to heal and seal the gut lining, make sure you can tolerate all these healing foods. It just gives you that. I don't like to use the word reset after what we just said before, but it does kind of do that, and it puts you in tune with your body.
Yeah.
You've taken everything out, you slowly put everything back in, you know where you're at with things, you know if nuts and fruit are a bit of, something you need to go easy with. You've kind of uncovered everything.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many situations where you really need to go back that you couldn't achieve the healing you want to achieve without going back to stage 1.
That's encouraging.
It is. And that's why Dr. Natasha recommends at least 2 years on average on gaps altogether. When you think about intro, for a lot of people, again, can be so varying in its time frame. But for some people, it might be 3 months, which isn't very long. Some people 6 months. So when you think that 2 years is the minimum time spent on gaps, most of that healing is happening in full gaps.
Yes.
So, we just get that really good big jump start in intro where you will see lots of positive changes, but then a lot of work is still happening. Heaps of work is still happening as you continue going through gaps. That's why full gaps is there. Gaps was originally just full gaps. That was the gaps protocol.
And that does heal people. It just takes more time.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% certain about this, but I'm sure that would be what Dr. Natasha used to heal her son, because that's how she developed gaps, was healing her own son and his autism. And that's what the gaps protocol was originally. So it's what she would have used. And then it was, as things have gone along over the years, she's brought in the intro diet. I think it was about 10 years ago. That's another one I'd have to check. So that's when she developed the intro diet, realizing that people need deeper healing, that just full gaps was no longer enough. And then since then, in the last few years, she's realized that some people are needing the no plant gaps. So that's that next step where the damage is now so deep-seated that it's the no plant gaps that people are needing. So once upon a time, full gaps was it, because so much healing happens there. So don't expect everything to happen during intro.
Yep. That's good. I have a really exciting thing to tell you. I haven't told you yet, Elyse.
Oh, this is exciting.
So this episode is 98.
Yes.
Guess who we've got for number 100?
Who?
Dr. Natasha.
Oh my goodness, that is so exciting.
I know. I sent her, we sent her one of our cookbooks over with Cindy O'Meara when she went to visit her a few months ago, and she loved it. And she also loves Emma's Gaps Kids book. Emma sent her one of those.
I saw.
So that's pretty cool.
Great.
And she's shared Isaac's story a few times on Twitter. And so I wrote to her and I said, would you come on our podcast for our 100th episode? She said, sure. So that's really exciting.
Oh, that is so exciting. I can't wait to listen to that one.
I know. The problem is, how in the world are we going to pinpoint exactly what to ask her? Because we'll just have so many questions. We want to talk all day.
I know. And she's a great speaker. She's very to the point. So she'll just get everything straight. She'll probably
just know what to say. Take off. We'll say, you got an hour. Go.
Yeah, talk for an hour, please. Yeah, that would be great.
Unless
awesome.
you want to talk for 2, that's fine.
Yeah. I know, we would all listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sure.
So that's our exciting bit of news.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think next I wanted to just kind of say about in intro, people are often questioning the healing process, as in, why am I feeling so bad? I'm eating all this good food. Why do I feel worse?
Why am I feeling worse? I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
Please answer.
So Linda Patterson, she's Gaps Australia. Mm-hmm. She describes that really beautifully.
Okay.
It's saying that when we start eating quality foods that are really easy to digest, then the body starts to identify the lower grade materials and tissues in the body.
Yes.
And then rids them. So pulls them out, recognizes those lower grade materials, pulls them out to make room for these superior ones that we're now getting from this high grade food that's coming into the body.
Oh,
so it's going in, it's renewing these tissues with healthier tissues from the high grade stuff we're getting in, and now that our body has this opportunity to utilize this stuff properly and get the other stuff out. Mm-hmm. So she calls it detoxing and retracing. Uh-huh. So body's just pulling stuff out and detoxing it. So everything that it's pulling out, it's releasing toxins into the system. Mm-hmm. The body's having to deal with that. And as it removes it, our detox pathways are having to cope with that. And that process can happen over and over throughout gaps. And that's when we see those healing regressions, that roller coaster.
Right. It's almost like a cycle.
Yeah.
Slowly rolling forward. But as it hits the downward spiral, you go, I'm getting worse. Oh, wait, I'm getting better. I'm getting worse.
And it is an emotional roller coaster because you're so in it, wherever you are with it, you're so in that moment, like, this isn't working, this is terrible. And then a week later, this is great, I feel great. And that's what I do with my clients all the time.
Yeah.
It's, all the doubts come in that downward spiral of the roller coaster, and then upward, it's like, this is the best thing I've ever done.
And sometimes you feel like you get the whole cycle in one day.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So that process, it's exactly what we're expecting to see. Mm-hmm. If you can kind of think back in your healing journey and you can see these waves, it's like inflammation's healing, your body's feeling better, you're going up that roller coaster, and then as your body's gotten to this point of healing where it can go, okay, it's safe now for me to just drop all this stuff and get rid of it because I'm in a good place. This is safe. Now I can just dump this. So then the body dumps more toxins to get rid of, and then we go in our downward spiral as our body just gets rid of that stuff. Yeah. And then we start to feel better again as we heal more inflammation and more detoxing, and we feel better. And then again, our body feels this is safe now. I can dump this stuff. So this is just a process our body goes through, and it is a slow one because, as we said, it couldn't dump this stuff all at once. You wouldn't cope. And so it's just a little bit at a time, layer upon layer, as we pull back this stuff and heal.
Yeah.
And it is so layered. It's so, and I'll give you an analogy if you like.
Please do.
So, a lot of people can think of it like when we're detoxing in these 10-day detoxes, give us this way of thinking as well, is like it's emptying out a bucket. Like you've got a bucket of toxins in your body, you just want to empty that all out.
Then you're all good to start again.
Then you start again and it's time to reset. But it's more like having a big pool of muddy water and you're just sticking a hose in it and waiting for it to all overflow out.
Yes, that's really good.
Yeah. So it's more like that. So it's the slow process of just flushing stuff out as your body is ready to.
Yeah, that's a really good picture.
Yeah.
I can see that. Thank you.
Yeah. Pleasure.
Yeah.
So another one that people often say to me in the early stages is GAPS has made me intolerant to X food. GAPS has made me more sensitive to food.
So GAPS doesn't work.
GAPS doesn't work, or even, the people that are believing it works and sticking with it, but, it's made me more sensitive. Why is it making me more sensitive? So this is a phenomenon in the body known as masking. So when you're feeling not that great most of the time, you're not always that aware of how not great you're feeling.
Yes.
If that makes sense. So as you heal on GAPS, you're actually unmasking intolerances that were already there. GAPS can't, when you understand how GAPS works, it can't make you intolerant to foods. So a lot of people can view GAPS as a really restricted diet. It's very out there. It's, all these things get thrown out around about GAPS, especially in the medical community. When you really just look at the core of GAPS, it's meat and veg.
Yeah.
So there's nothing extravagant about it. There's nothing really that alternative about it. There's nothing really that restrictive about it. It is just meat and veg. We're just very, we have a lot of choice. We're pretty much like overdone with choice in our lives that we now view it as restrictive, but it, like 100 years ago, meat and veg was what people ate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And focusing on the nutrient dense versions.
Exactly. So when you think of it that simply, that GAPS is right from the start, meat and veg, very nutrient dense, then that kind of food, it can't make you intolerant to something. Yeah. I think because we haven't given it, Dr. Nahashan has given it a name and put it in as a protocol, then you can talk about it as something outside of yourself, as GAPS, as this protocol doing something. But when you really just look at the food that you're eating, it's not food that can make you intolerant to something. So as the gut lining's healing and sealing, which is what's happening in the early stages of GAPS, when you do eat a food that your body doesn't want, you're damaging that. It's like if you fall over and graze your knee and you get a scab on that knee. It's that kind of healing that's happened. It's not complete. That's why you need 2 years on GAPS. It's just that scab over it that's just holding that ulcerations in the gut lining so they can start to heal. So when you've started that healing, but it's all there, still fresh and raw and not healed yet, and then you eat a food that's going to undo that, it's actually damaging that healing. So that's why you will see a response to it. Your body can now respond and tell you that it doesn't want that food, which is actually a really good thing.
Yeah, and that's something to really focus on, is the positivity of all this. People feel like it's negative. I'm detoxing. I feel so awful. I'm going backwards. I'm reacting to things I never reacted before. I never reacted to almond meal before, and now I am. But like you say, it's a positive thing. Your body's working through things, and it will get past that. Like I know the first time I had almond meal, stage 4, I think, wasn't it? I just was, my tongue felt all tingly, and I've never had anything with nuts, ever. And I was like, uh-oh, what's this? And I just pulled back and left it for a little bit longer and then tried again, and it was fine. But it was just interesting to me to see, the difference in how your body let you know what it was ready for and what it's not ready for.
Yeah, we want our bodies to be speaking to us, and say for you, nuts probably were always an issue. Well, they will have been an issue for you to cause that. And so before, your body wasn't speaking to you. It wasn't telling you. It was just damaging, and you just weren't getting the signals. Yeah.
And maybe this is a good time to mention this too. We probably have mentioned it before, but, people, especially it's coming up to Easter, right? I'm already getting the questions about the hot cross buns, and I'm only on stage 3 to 4, but I'd really like to try your GAPS hot cross bun muffin things. And I'm just like, well, really, you can't have the dried fruit yet. You're probably not onto all the spices yet. If you haven't had almond meal yet, I wouldn't be jumping into hot cross buns straight away. And the thing is, once you start using almond meal and baking and nut meals and things, I know for us it was very difficult to hold back and not have too much of it. So this is something to be quite aware of. Obviously, we want to be flexible with our diets, but what's your recommendation for people who are trying to move ahead slowly to not overdo it?
So it really does depend on where you're at, like when birthday parties come up or Easter or Christmas, when those things come around for my clients. It really depends on where they're at.
Yeah.
For a lot of my clients, it's just a non-option. It's just not even a question. It's just a no.
And maybe next year.
Yeah, maybe hopefully next year.
It's
but
not
maybe
forever.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think when you're committing to doing something like GAPS, I think you decide then what your level of commitment is to it.
Yes.
So if for you it is I need to half commit or I will not do it at all, then good on you for recognizing where you're at, and great that you're half committing instead of not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
Something will always be better than nothing. So I always really encourage people to do something.
That's really good.
You were going to eat anyway.
Yes.
So, and I do the same if people can't. There's always the organic veggies and organic meat and all that kind of thing. I can't start GAPS because I can't get organic.
Yeah.
You're going to eat anyway. You're going to eat the non-organic foods anyway. I'd rather be doing GAPS with the non-organic foods than doing GAPS with the non-organic foods. So same with this kind of thing. It really depends on each person and their level of what they've decided they want to commit to this.
Yeah.
How much they're needing healing, how much their family is needing healing. If you know you're in that place where you need a lot of healing, and I think people will know within themselves that if they tried to introduce something that's further along that it probably wouldn't be worth it, then it's not. And it's better to just go without, because that passes and you reflect on Easter as spending time with your family and having fun. You did. But if you have something and feel like you've gone backwards, then you've actually chucked a negative spin onto Easter that really wouldn't have been there otherwise. So I think,
and you've kind of given yourself a negative idea of GAPS, and now it's more of an effort and it's more restrictive, and now I have to go backwards, and you start getting that negative thinking as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the answer to that really is individual, where people are at. But I would always kind of encourage people to stick with where they are at and do the best they can with where they are at. And for kids, I really found that they are okay. They are okay without this. I think the worst cases for kids is going to birthday parties and everyone else eating stuff. But
teenagers as well.
I've found mostly with if you're doing something in your own home, so you're the one providing the food, it's fine. Like,
you can make it special. Whatever the diet is, you can make it special. Yeah,
and still for my son, I don't do eggs to Easter, even though I can.
No.
We're actually off GAPS now, even though it's still what we do.
Yeah. Same.
But I still wouldn't. I just rather not be the food. Like, I'd rather just not have that around the food. So my parents might, but it will be not your average chocolate anyway, because they still don't do that. But I do presents. So he'll get
perfect.
Really cute little felt dolls or something.
Lovely.
Like something really sweet and special, rather than the chocolate and stuff. But we can go down a big rabbit hole with that, which is a nice pun thing.
That's what we do in these podcasts, right?
But I think it's all just looking at where you're at.
Yeah, no, it's good because it's all about, the backwards, forwards kind of feeling of healing. It's something that you do have to decide how important something is to you and weigh it all up. And it's, like you say, it's very individual. And when we started GAPS, we were so strict. And like I tell people, I don't like to tell people to be really hard on themselves and not have any flexibility, but sometimes you have to do that. But think of it as short term.
Exactly.
And you come out the other end and go, I am so glad we did the hard yards. It was so worth it. And you know what? It didn't actually take as long as I thought it would. Oh, you know, it didn't feel as long as I thought it would. Because the kids thought it was the end of the world that we had to do gaps for 2 years. But then when we got to the end of 2 years, it kind of flowed on and we just kept eating that way and just added a few bits and pieces in. But it was never as scary and horrible as we thought it was going to be.
No, the worst part's always just the beginning. It's just a change.
It's kind of thinking it through that's the worst part.
Yeah. Thinking it through and then making everything for the first time.
Yeah, that's it.
Just all feeling new. That's the hardest part. But once you get through those first few weeks, you don't crave the things anymore.
No.
And so you find yourself really satiated. When you're nourishing, our bodies are very smart, and when we're giving it the things that it needs, it rewards us for that.
Yes.
So it's just knowing and understanding these layers of healing that are going to happen, so that when you're a few months in and everything's been going okay and all of a sudden you're having a regression but you hadn't even changed anything, it's understanding that that's okay.
Yes.
That even though you feel like you didn't do anything over those few months, your body was very busy doing a lot of healing, and so now
behind the scenes.
Exactly. Underground was doing all these healings, and now it's ready to let go of this next layer, and that's what you're having, and you've just got to listen to your body for the rest to support whilst you're going through that next regression. Yeah.
Well, do you want to answer some of the Facebook questions? There's heaps. I'll let you choose because you can see them too.
So we could go into definitely the first question. So tests needed to work out if you have parasites, methylation, heavy metal, etc. issues. So when it comes to thinking about all this stuff, my answer is always do gaps first. So I'm not big on testing because testing really is just one snapshot of one moment in time when it comes to bloods. Things like methylation, if you're testing for gene mutations, it is testing whether or not it's there. But if people go and listen to our previous podcast on methylation, you'll see that people can have methylation issues regardless of whether they have the MTHFR mutation. So I'm not big on testing that.
Yeah.
It's not something that you go and test and go, okay, so now that's something I've got to focus on. And the fact is that GAPS does resolve those issues.
And either way, whether you have it or not, the lifestyle and diet changes will be the same for good health.
Yeah, exactly. And if you've got methylation issues, we're going to know about it.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of stuff that the issues you would have if you have methylation issues are the kind of stuff you would want to be working with a practitioner who would be able to tell you have methylation issues without even testing. It's pretty obvious that there's issues with methylation, and it's not really something, if you do GAP properly, that you need to go and jump into all the supplementing with. So that other podcast does really go into more of that. And when it comes to the heavy metals, I'm kind of the same with that. I'm not encouraging anyone to go and test before they do GAPS. A lot of people think that, okay, so before I do GAPS, I'm going to go test. You sort out the heavy metals, sort out the parasites, sort out this, and then I'll do GAPS. Do GAPS first. I'm just say that so many times. Do GAPS first. GAPS is the foundation. GAPS is what you do before you do any testing, before you go down any other path. GAPS is what underlies it. So I'm going to tell you another analogy.
Okay.
So say, for example, if you broke your arm and you went and got physio on it, you went and got a massage, and you went and got, acupuncture. So you're going and doing all these things about your broken arm, but what you really need to do is go and have the arm prepared. So say, I think I used to use this as like you needed a shoulder reconstruction or something. Does the analogy? Now I've ruined it, haven't I?
No, that's good. It makes sense.
Yeah, so say, you broke your arm, you did whatever, I don't know, but you need a shoulder reconstruction, you need it operated on. That's quite clear. But you're going and getting massage, physio, acupuncture, doing all these things might be helping the pain a little bit and might be causing some kind of benefit, but the core of the issue is that you need an operation on your arm. Yeah. So until you go and get the operation on your arm, you're not going to see the healing and return to function that you need. So after you get the operation on your arm, the acupuncture, the massage, the physio, probably really needed and something that's really beneficial. So this is kind of an analogy to look at gaps. It's like the gut needs to be healed. The gut is damaged. So you can go and do all these other things that are secondary issues, or you can just start with healing the gut, which is what is the core of all the issues, even though you still may need to address other things once you've done that. So doing gaps first is what I always say to people, but I still think it's a really hard message to get across. I think it's because even naturopaths don't take that approach a lot of the time. It's just like the Western medical model done with natural medicines. Yeah. That's still that attack, go in and kill, which I really don't agree with that approach. I've seen some different kind of things out there where there's some really intense kind of protocols that are done in online programs and things like that, and I just really don't agree with it. I've had people have a lot of issues from taking those approaches because it's such an attack approach.
Right, instead of a nurture approach.
Yeah, it's just so full on, and it doesn't get to the actual core of the issue. You do gaps first. You've got to heal and seal the gut lining. Things like parasites, candida, heavy metals, they're all there for a reason. So heavy metals, I can't see the question right now, but I know someone said something about how is that an issue for kids, like young kids. Like I'm sure someone said something like that.
Could be on the other. There's two threads.
Yeah, I think it was this one. There we go. I'd like to know if you should be treating parasites first with antibiotics and doing gut healing after that, or do gaps first and then antibiotics after if necessary. Are parasites there to mop up toxins, i.e. from amalgam fillings? How can you explain their presence, though, in children? Also, for someone with colon, I'll go into that bit next. So presence in children with toxins, it's from the parents, which is it's just as simple as that. So a lot of the time, or I think I could probably say 100%, I'll say 90% just to be sure, of my clients who the children have shown to have metal issues and the parents have amalgam fillings. So I'm one of them. My mum had amalgam fillings when she was, I think she got one while she was pregnant with me, and she had a whole mouthful of them. And most of them were between my brother's birth and my birth. So I was the one that really caused Mercury. And so Mercury's been a big issue for me. Candida's been a big issue for me.
Wow.
So it's understanding.
So Candida's related to the heavy metals.
Yeah, so Candida wraps itself around Mercury and protects your body from it.
Right.
So I guess this is going into more depth about those layers of healing. So having Mercury toxicity in the body affects your detox pathways. It does damage. That can be one of the avenues in which a gut has become damaged. So once again, it's still do gaps first. So to answer that question about do I do gaps first, do I do antibiotics, it is do gaps first, because before you deal with any of those other issues, you need to heal and seal the gut lining. If someone just goes and starts detoxing mercury, they're going to keep reabsorbing it. So most good practitioners will always have people working on their gut lining first, because that needs to be healed and sealed. Leaky gut, you need to resolve that first. Always do gaps first. You need to resolve that first. And then, so what I would look at then if there's mercury issues is that mercury is the next layer. And after doing gaps for a while is when you would see whether or not you need to do something else to deal with the mercury. And then
what would the symptoms be that you would know?
So if you're still seeing really dark circles under the eyes, and this I would say it's like once you're onto full gaps, it's again individual. There are some people that I work with mercury on earlier on, and it is really dependent on their whole story and their whole picture of where they're at. But in general, you would wait till full gaps before you even started looking at anything else, before you thought about anything else. It would just be working through the intro stages and getting onto full gaps. And juicing is a really big part of getting mercury out of the system. So for some people, doing gaps alone there'll be no issues to resolve after that. They will be feeling good, no dark circles under the eyes, and then you don't need to go any further with anything. You just continue with gaps. But if you're getting to full gaps and the dark circles under the eyes are still a really big issue, and so is anger and aggression, knowing that the liver's not really coping, that's when you would start to look at mercury, and that is the stage at which I might even test for it.
Right.
So we can do hair tests to see if mercury is a problem. So, and then the Candida and the parasites, they're like a follow-on issue from that. So Candida and parasites are there because of mercury. Candida particularly, parasites can be there for other reasons as well. Candida wraps itself around mercury and actually protects our body from it. So Candida is actually doing us a massive favour by being there, because the symptoms from Candida are much better than the symptoms from mercury.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is, and I went to plenty of naturopaths in my throughout my healing journey from when I was about between 12 and 15. I think I started looking at the natural health to resolve my issues. And I have been told by many different practitioners, like, been given stuff to deal with Candida. And little did I know it's releasing mercury into my system. If you take stuff to kill Candida, you're releasing mercury into your system. And it is most likely, if Candida is a persistent problem for you, it is most likely that is because of mercury being in your system. That's what I've seen most of the time, that mercury is in the system. And so I still have people asking me, Candida is a problem, how do I address it? How do I kill off the Candida? But it's like there's deeper issues. You need to let the body deal with that itself. It's not something that I usually would just target on its own. It's something that would just be dealt with as you're dealing with other stuff, the Candida.
So that's interesting. My eldest daughter had Candida issues before we started GAPS, and it seemed to clear up over intro. She does have to be really careful with sugars still, but it really cleared up. And I have no idea about mercury though. So how do you work on, well, you've said sort of how you know if you have mercury, high mercury.
So what I would say is, if you think mercury is an issue, you need to work with a practitioner. Right. Yeah, it's really not something that I would recommend people just going and dealing with themselves. A lot of people do follow the anti-Cutler chelation protocol. There's stuff in there that Dr. Natasha doesn't recommend. There's parts she does. So I think the safest way to deal with mercury is with a practitioner, because it really is figuring out first whether you need to, and then what the best way to go about it is. So
what does it usually include?
Dealing with mercury.
Yeah, sorry, the treatment, yeah.
Yeah, alpha lipoic acid.
Whatever that is.
Yeah, ALA. So that's what we usually deal with, but I do highly recommend working with a practitioner as to know whether or not you need to do that and how. Yeah. And to be followed along by a practitioner as you're doing it to make sure you're doing it right. So with your daughter, I would say that after this amount of time, I would potentially look into that. We could organise some hair testing for her if you want to, because, I think that by that stage, if you're still needing to be careful and you know it's just sitting there under the surface, then I think you would start looking at that a little bit. Okay. You're past your 2 years into GAPS, everything else is doing really well, and that's a good time to do it. You're 2 years, you're past GAPS now, everything's going really well. It's just like this potential other layer that needs to now be dealt with. And now is the best time to be doing it, because up until this point she's been going well. Yeah. So, and that's what you want. You want as much healing as you can without ripping too much out. Like,
not everything at once.
Exactly. You don't need to go trying to pull mercury out and pull this out all in this process. You want to give your body time. So if people are sitting there questioning whether they have mercury or whether they have this, but you're coping with intro and you're moving through okay, don't even think about it right now. Yep. The longer you can put it off, the more healing you can just do on GAPS, the better, because it puts your body in a better position to then deal with those things if you need to, if and when you need to. And then so when it comes to parasites, and this is one that I think probably 95% of people on GAPS are dealing with. I think it's the one I get questioned about the most on GAPS is parasites. How do I deal with them? Do I take the antibiotics? Do I deal with parasites first, or do I do GAPS? Again, do GAPS. It's always going to be do GAPS first. even if you're tested, you've got diatomea fragilis or blastocystis hominis or whatever, they're the two most common ones, and they always seem to come together.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you're dealing, you know that you've got those and they've been causing an issue, it'll still be do GAPS first. I would never recommend just going and taking the antibiotics. The only one I do is Giardia. So there are a couple where you would. There are some situations where you would, and again, that's very individual.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone had, like someone was asking me last night about strep B infections in the throat, that's one where Dr. Natasha does recommend just going and taking the antibiotics.
Right.
When it comes to parasites, they're in the body for a reason. The body has invited them in for a reason, just like a muddy swamp invites in bugs and parasites to clean it up.
Mm-hmm. Our
body is inviting parasites in for a reason. So the ecosystem that is our body and our gut and our microbiome, there's something going on with that ecosystem that needs parasites. Parasites not an issue of exposure. It's not because, you know, you could go to Bali with your buddy and they get a parasite infection and are sick and you're not.
Yeah.
And that's not, so you're most likely both exposed to the parasite, but if your gut is in a better state, that ecosystem is healthier, then it's not inviting the parasite in or allowing it to proliferate and cause an issue.
Right.
So if you're just going in with antibiotics, again, you're taking that Western medical approach of attacking, and it's ignoring that ecosystem actually needs to be restored. So like if you had a forest that was overgrown with weeds, if you went in with a broad spectrum weed killer, you're going to kill a lot of the forest as well and do further damage. And where's the forest at then? Eventually all weeds are just going to overgrow and it's going to be worse.
Right.
This is exactly what happens with our gut.
Yeah.
So if in that forest you went and planted plants that kept those weeds under control, you're going to end up with a healthier ecosystem. And that's exactly what we're doing on GAPS. We want to go in, we want to get good bacteria in there. First of all, we want to heal the gut lining. We want to get good bacteria in there, and we want to start changing that ecosystem so that the parasites, the bacteria, the fungi, the whatever's going on in there, the microbes, they're kept under control, that the bacteria, the beneficial bacteria is flourishing and there's a good biodiversity, and that just keeps everything happening. There's always going to be weeds in a forest, but as long as everything else is flourishing properly, they don't become and cause a problem.
They don't take over.
Exactly. So it's all about that balance.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to bring that balance back and heal that ecosystem so that the body will just deal with that stuff itself.
Yeah. That's good.
So in GAPS, the way that looks is it always, again, is do GAPS first. You want to heal and seal the gut lining before you even do anything about parasites. And the time when Dr. Natasha does recommend doing something about parasites is if in the early stages you're getting really stuck for a long time on stages 1 and 2, 3, back to 2, you're getting really stuck there, maybe getting along to 4, then getting right back to stage 1 or 2 again. When you're really getting stuck in those early stages, that is when Dr. Natasha suggests giving parasites a push. So the way I do that with people is really different for everyone. I think it frustrates a lot of people in my Facebook group because they're like, what's the parasite protocol? And I'm like, I have a protocol. It's like it's more like the person I'm working with, okay, what do I feel like you can handle right now? And I think this approach,
it's not going to be the same for everyone.
Yeah, and then I'm looking, how are you dealing with that? We're following along. Okay, what are the symptoms? Okay, do this with it. All right, next I think we'll try this because you dealt with that in that way. So it's so changing, but I find that that's the way that works. I think parasite protocols that are set out and just delivered as they are, like this is the protocol for everyone to follow, I've seen them really not work for most people because it's really different how people need to deal with parasites. So that's, if you're stuck in those early stages and you need to start looking at if parasites are keeping you stuck there, then it is about just supporting and healing the body, giving parasites a push, which just gives your body an opportunity for that beneficial bacteria to flourish a bit more so we can take care of them. So it's still, you're still just supporting the body's process and what it's doing.
That's good. That makes sense.
Yes.
Now, there's still so many questions. Do you want to choose some more?
Okay, so how do you listen to the podcast? Well,
I can answer that one.
Yeah. So where to start if you have parasites, autoimmune, chronic fatigue? You do GAPS. So I know that's just like a really simple answer, but that is the answer. So I would just be ignoring not worrying about the parasites initially, because for some people they will know that parasites are a problem, but doing GAPS may solve that problem. You may not have to do the protocols that I just spoke about. It's only in those early stages. If you know that you're not progressing well, then maybe you will have to do the protocols. And then when it comes to autoimmune, chronic fatigue, autoimmune do GAPS. There really isn't anything that you need to change. You may need to spend longer in the early stages. The damage may be deeper. There is such a vast array of autoimmune issues that there's probably no one answer to that. It depends on what's going on. And it does the same for chronic fatigue. It's really looking at what's going on in the bigger picture. Dr. Natasha does with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and issues like that, rheumatoid arthritis, those really deep-seated kind of chronic fatigue / autoimmune issues. She does recommend doing GAPS, of course, and then 1 day a week fasting for around 30 to 36 hours.
Yep.
So I think the way she said it was to eat dinner normally on the Friday and then don't eat anything on the Saturday, or it might have even been eat till lunchtime on the Friday and then stop eating at that time, and then don't eat all of Saturday and then eat breakfast again normally on Sunday.
Yeah.
So she kind of says that for people with mitochondrial issues, that's your energy centers of your cells, so people with chronic fatigue, there's usually issues in the mitochondria. People with fibromyalgia and stuff like that, it's the mitochondria, the energy centers of the cells, not working properly. So they're not working properly because the body's overcome with toxins. So when you go to do GAPS, it's really hard for your body to get a break because mitochondrial issues are there because there's toxicity. Your detox pathways already aren't working well, so you can really get stuck, and that's why healing can be so tough for people with chronic fatigue. But Dr. Natasha does recommend that doing just that 1 day a week of fasting to kind of give that chronic fatigue person a chance to heal, and then straight back into their really nourishing foods throughout the week.
That's
really
good.
good.
We've been talking a lot about fasting, and we've got another podcast coming up soon with Daniel Pomper about fasting.
Right,
So,
that'll be really
it's fascinating.
I think fasting's just really coming up lately.
It is.
Yeah, my brother's really, really into it. My business partner, Stephanie Meads, she just she was going to do a 7-day fast. She ended up doing 6 days and did
amazing.
Awesome, yeah. So, and then food and what he's been doing fasting. So I did a 30-hour fast and it was really good.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to extend that a little bit, but that again is really individual on where you're at. If you're just starting out at intro, don't even think about fasting right now.
That's right.
It's just do GAPS, and it's those kind of chronic fatigue people, and that would be on an individual basis. It's probably something you'd still want to work with a practitioner on.
That's what I was about to say. It's probably good to get some help with it. Don't just jump in and go, right, I'm going to just do a fast.
Because it could cause your adrenals to crash. So I'd really want to work on someone's adrenals first before making sure their adrenals are really supported before getting them to move into that fasting if they're a chronic fatigue person.
Yes.
So, that it's just still working the ways that you go about it.
The layers.
The layers upon layers.
Yeah.
So, and I just always say to people, if you're doing something and it's working, like I have clients, I have quite a few clients at the moment that are stuck on stage 2, not because of parasites. We can see it's not because of parasites. There's just a lot of damage, but they're doing well on stage 2, thriving on stage 2, but getting very impatient, understandably, because they've been on stage 2 for some of them I've been working with for a year or more, and they're stuck in that spot, but they're thriving there and going through little healing crises every now and then, or like a bit of that roller coaster, but overall doing well. And it's that just being patient to go, well, I'm doing well here, I'm progressing. Even though I'm not adding more food in, my health is progressing, and this is okay to be here doing what I'm doing.
And they know not to go further because when they add food in, then
they're just not ready. And just me with the ever encouraging, please don't move on yet.
Just wait a little bit longer.
Just wait. There's great things happening here right now.
Yeah.
So again, very individual.
Yes.
So dealing with that. So what other questions should I answer? I think some of them I could go and type some answers because
they may.
With the anaphylaxis, GAPS does heal anaphylaxis. So I guess with the answer to healing anaphylaxis, it's do GAPS. With working,
have a listen to Mary's story, Mary Kelly over at Good Mood Food. Fascinating.
She has an amazing story, and I've worked with a few people that have healed anaphylaxis allergies. So it can be done. It is still a gut issue. Dr. Natasha does talk about how anaphylactic allergies develop through the leaky gut. So they can be healed. It just really is a question of how the parent wants to go about it. They're the decision maker. They're the one that decides how they want to progress with trying the food that has the anaphylactic allergy. So whether it's through challenging in hospital, or I've had people do it all different ways. So it just really is dependent on that, how you want to progress with that.
Yeah.
Is it important or necessary to test for leaky gut or see a gastroenterologist to assess one's condition of the gut prior to GAPS? Are there any benefits or any assessments you'd highly recommend? Not really. My number one assessment is how are you feeling? What's your history? What symptoms do you have? Yes. You know, what's your family history? You know whether or not you've got a gut issue. You know, all the symptoms are there, and if you're not even sure how it all connects, once you explain it to someone that does, like a GAPS practitioner, they'll be able to explain to you what the link is and how that may have progressed for you, how those kind of issues usually do progress, how Dr. Natasha explains how the GAPS issues progress, and then it all kind of clicks and makes sense. I don't really see any point in testing because you know if you've got an issue, you know if you want to do something about it. GAPS is a do no harm approach to do it the right way and get support. So I would just always say do GAPS first. I'm really picky about testing because I think I really take it very seriously what I tell my clients to spend money on.
Yeah.
And
it's so expensive. It's crazy.
It does. And if testing isn't going to change the way we approach something, then I don't see any point in doing it. And Dr. Natasha is not big on testing for that reason. She says that it is just that moment in time. It can be fickle. It can fluctuate. It can we're only testing for the things that we know to test for. So it's not even nothing gives us just a clear picture of what's going on because we can only, test certain things. So I don't really see any benefit to it if it's not going to change the way we approach things, and it often doesn't.
There's a couple of questions in the program support group that are interesting, like if you've worked through healing and you've gone through all the methylation type stuff and you've worked on getting rid of heavy metals and you've been maintaining a GAPS style diet. This lady wants to know what are the main dietary and lifestyle elements and supplements that are likely to be lifelong to prevent recurrence of heavy metal toxicity, or do you worry about that?
Heavy metal toxicity is a matter of exposure. So you would have to be exposed to it to have that issue. So usually it is, often it is amalgam fillings. It can be the vaccinations that had mercury in it. It can be if you're exposed to it environmentally. I think there's some kind of, I forget exactly what it is, but there's some kind of factories that used to put mercury out into the air or something like that, I think. So it is really, heavy metals is really a matter of exposure, and then also that linked with an issue with detoxing and detox pathways not working well, which causes the mercury just to build up. And
so really what's the diet and lifestyle things that would be long term to help with staying, I guess, keeping those detox pathways open?
So following, I guess, just keeping those underpinning foundation things of GAPS, and that's basically what Dr. Natasha says, that don't go back to a standard diet.
No.
Don't go back to using toxins on your skin and in your home.
Of course not. I don't think you can once you've...
Yeah,
I can't stand the smell of them.
Yeah, so I guess sticking to Western A Price. So Dr. Natasha does actually mention Western A Price diet. That sticking to that style of diet and lifestyle, the whole food lifestyle, the clean eating, the low tox lifestyle is just
clean water.
And
out in nature, sunshine.
Exactly. Yeah. And when it comes to what supplements a person may need, again, very individual. It would just depend on what issue they've been dealing with and whether they need to keep supplementing for it.
This lady has Hashimoto's, she said.
Yeah, so she may need to keep supplementing for a thyroid. And that just really depends on where she's at. It depends how long she's had the issue for, how well it's resolving on GAPS. So any supplement you're taking, you should be taking because it's actually doing something. And if you stop taking it, you feel worse.
Right. So, yeah, because there is another question from another lady saying that she's worked on the MTHFR and she would love to get rid of her supplements, but she's not really sure if she can. So I guess that's working with a practitioner and bringing them down slowly and seeing what happens, yeah?
Yeah, exactly, and just looking at what those supplements are and seeing how to get those through food.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about you, Elyse. Whenever I say to Elyse, what can I do to get my iron up? Should I just take iron? No, you need to be eating liver. You need to be.
Yeah.
And she gives me the amount, and I don't always keep up with it but it's like I would much rather do things through food than having to pop pills all the time.
And our body knows what to do with it when we do it through food.
It's a whole food, whereas a supplement isn't really, is it?
No, it's not. So the ones that are for everyone on GAPS are the probiotics, the cod liver oil, the fish oil, the iodine. They're the supplements that everyone should take for a period of time. Even the cod liver oil and fish oil, 3 to 6 months, maybe a little longer. They're not things that you keep taking over your lifetime. Maybe every now and then when someone's sick, take some cod liver oil. But, and same with the probiotics.
Yeah.
Maybe 6 months, or it depends on what dose people are getting to, but they're not forever.
Yeah. Thank goodness. They're expensive.
Yeah, they are expensive, but they're not forever. So, with any supplements, very individual, depend on the person and what they're taking them for. So even though I always say I'm not that big on supplements, if someone starts working with me, I don't just take them off all their supplements, but we have a really good discussion about what they're on. And then we work on trying to do that through food so that they don't need them. And then they would try reducing or stopping one and seeing how they feel. If they feel worse, they need it. If they feel no different, they don't need it. So I think that's something people forget, or we're taught not to really think of it that way, that we're actually, if we're meant to be taking something, we should feel worse if we stop it. It's not just something we take and hope it's doing good. Yeah,
airy-fairy kind of idea of, it must be doing me good.
Yeah, that's it. So with the fussy 10-year-old, I think we could just post the video I did about getting the fussy eaters for Fiona. We could tag her in that because that would be what she needs there.
So you did a video on fussy eaters and also one on how to get broths into kids?
Yeah, that was the same one.
That's the same one. Okay, cool. Yeah, we need to share that, definitely.
Yeah, so that will help Fiona. And then Kate asking about SIBO. So GAPS does treat SIBO.
Yeah.
So you just need to see what is tolerated. Sometimes the kraut juice won't be. It just depends on whether that person in their particular case can tolerate a small amount. Then you would just make up different ferments like fermented carrot instead of the kraut, and that can be better tolerated by people with SIBO. But you just still do, and that will resolve the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, which is what SIBO is that we're not meant to have much bacteria in our small intestine. So that would just take care of that overgrowth in the intestine. And we'd be looking at the stomach acid, because if there's enough stomach acid, then stomach acid comes into the small intestine with the food as we're digesting. So that does kill bacteria. So if there's a bacteria allowed to overgrow in the small intestine, it's usually because the stomach acid's not there.
Yeah.
So so there's a few things to be looking at there, but again, gaps. And possibly work with a practitioner if the SIBO is really bad and really persistent issue. Yeah.
This one here, someone asks about why her teeth have become stained during gaps. Do you have any ideas on that one?
Yeah, you do really detox through your mouth. So I do recommend for people to do the coconut oil pulling every morning, and Dr. Natasha recommends this. Coconut oil pulling and brushing your teeth with bicarb, with charcoal, putting probiotic on your tongue. So that is really normal. It is just detoxing through your mouth. So you just want to look after that.
I didn't know that was normal because I had that too, and I was like, oh, why is this happening?
Yeah, okay. So we do detox through the mouth, so you just got to take care of the mouth and just pulling the toxins out.
Right.
So coconut oil pulling is amazing. For anyone that doesn't know what that is, it's just getting a teaspoon of coconut oil, putting that in your mouth. First thing in the morning is the best time to do it. If you forget, do it whenever. It's better to do it than not do it. And then swish that teaspoon of coconut oil around your mouth and through your teeth for 10 to 15 minutes, and then spit it out and rinse. So that just pulls it, and you can feel it, the way your gums feel when you do it. You can feel that it's pulled the toxins out. It leaves your mouth feeling really good. Okay. And that's also a good way to deal with ulcers and anything going on in your mouth like that. It's, it's that toxicity in your mouth.
Yeah.
So someone else has asked about, I heard it's better to do heavy metal detox first. So I disagree with that, just because this is the way Dr. Natasha puts it, is that we should be healing and sealing the gut lining first, because if you try and deal with mercury, heavy metals, when there's leaky gut, you can just reabsorb everything, and it's really dangerous. You really need to be careful dealing with heavy metals, because they can just go and reposition themselves in the brain once you get loosen the metals and they're floating around the bloodstream, and they can just go straight through the blood-brain barrier. So heavy metals are something you really want to be very careful with, and Dr. Natasha does say we want to heal and seal the gut lining first. Yeah. So your body's ready to deal with that. And for a lot of people, gaps alone will clear out those detox pathways, and particularly the juicing when you get onto stage 4 will help get the metals out, and that may be enough for people.
And with the juicing, one thing that you hear is it's so much sugars. So, what is it? Do you water it down a bit, or do you just not have too much? Or
so with the juicing, Dr. Natasha recommends doing it as gap shakes. So you do a whole juice, and you don't worry about the sugars.
But you've got the fats in there.
Yeah, so you put the fats in there, you put a whole egg in, you put the sour cream in, and that balances out the sugar. The benefits of the juicing and what it does for your liver outweighs the issues. So I
really need to be juicing more.
Yeah, juicing is a really big part of it, and I think it's worth investing in a proper juicer.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
It is worth
What's your favourite?
Because cold press. The Kuvings. Kuvings juicer.
How do you spell that?
Kuvings. Okay. So I'm going to see what I can do. We might be able to do a discount. We might be able to offer some a discount, because I was thinking of getting them in.
That would be good, because I need to get one. I use my Thermomix sometimes, but you obviously have to strain the pulp out. So, yeah, it's been used since I've had a proper juicer.
Yeah, and it's just never going to be as good when you blitz, because it destroys a lot of the nutrients. So cold pressing is always going to be the best way to have it.
Sure.
Have those juices. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's answered heaps of questions. I should probably let you stop, because otherwise we'll be here all day.
Yes, I know. We easily could be.
See? We were like, do you think we'll have enough to talk about an hour? I'm like, are you kidding me, Elyse?
I always worry, what if we just kind of say it in a few sentences and we're done?
Nah, never. But just to wrap up, I think, it just really brings back to me the importance of being patient with yourself, and just, like I was talking about on the weekend, just moving forward gently and taking your time and not beating yourself up because you're not going fast enough, and just letting your body heal and do that silent healing that you sometimes feel like is not really going anywhere. And one thing that I've been thinking about a lot with all the time that I spent in bed with my problems that I had is resting without resentment, because that's hard, especially for mums who are busy. It's hard to stop and rest and take the time, and you just want it to be over and done with so you can get on with your life. But you're setting yourself up for the future, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we do get really stuck in that doing mentality.
We do. We really do.
Especially as mums, and I know a stereotype people in the group are mums, and it's we get stuck in that do because as a mum you're always doing. Okay, so now I'm doing gaps and I'm healing. Okay, I've got to do. What do I do next?
Yeah, that's right.
You know, it is just allowing yourself that time and space to go, okay, now I just don't need to do anything. I need to just continue with what I'm doing.
And go sit in the sun and have a swim and have a sleep and just know that your body's got it.
That's right. Just give it more time.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Elyse. I found that really encouraging. It's good.
Hey, no problems at all. I love chatting with you, Jo.
Well, maybe you can just let everyone know anything that's important that you think they should know about your site and your retreat. Is that all filled up?
Not filled up yet. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, I'm hopeless at remembering my own things. So.
It's like, my stuff. Oh, now I've gone, what? So my business partner, Stephanie Meads, and another fellow GAPS practitioner, and I are running a retreat in July in Mallorca, which is right next to Byron Bay, from the 5th to the 8th of July. And Jo and Fu will be there to hang out with us for a little bit of we're going to have lots of stuff on. It's based on a workshop series that Steph and I ran called Nourish and Flourish. Everything will be GAPS friendly.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing lots of nice things like yoga and meditation, and we're going to head over to Kiva Spa. We'll be going to Mullum Farmers Market. We're trying to organise a pretty cool farm visit. Lots of cooking together. It's an intimate group. We're only allowing 10 people to come. So we're having it a fairly intimate group so there can be. Our aim is we just want everyone to walk away from that retreat feeling like they had this really one-on-one kind of experience with us where they're forever changed from it, where they
can ask all the questions.
Exactly. There's just time for everything. We just want there to be time for everyone to just pull everything they need from it. And then so they can go home and be a beacon for their friends and family and help change things for them as well. So we're just really excited about that retreat in July.
And I'll just mention, send the link and we can put that on there. And I'll just mention that Fuad and I are going to be doing our health seminar with the cooking demonstration, and the retreat attendees will come to that.
Yes, and we'll get to, they'll have like a VIP pass and get to,
front row seat
and sit at the front, and so it's going to be great. We're really grateful that you and Fu are coming along, and that's just going to add to the inspiration for everyone. We're just really excited about what this will do for the people that attend, so that's great. So there's a few spots for that, so maybe I'll talk to Steph. We might chuck a little discount too.
Up to you. We won't hassle you, won't twist your arm.
No needed, but I'll send you through the link and a little discount.
And do you want to mention your shop and where they can find you and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so my shop is Cold Coast Organic, so I stock most things GAPS in there. And if you are in the Quirky Cooking group, the program, the gut health program, you guys do get a discount in there. I forget how much it is, but there's a code in there for a little discount. So we've got all the stuff in there, and I'm happy to I do have some practitioner only stuff in there, but if a quick message or a phone call to say what you need and why, and I'm happy to get that stuff to you if I know that's what you need. So that's all in there. And then in terms of working with me, I do have some spaces available at the moment. We just discovered that they were something wrong with my calendar, and
I saw that.
Oh my gosh, what's going on? Like,
nobody loves me anymore.
Like every other day's packed, but Monday there's just no one. Like, what's going on with people on Mondays? But it was my calendar. So there's lots.
So now there's room.
There's plenty of room at the moment. So if you do decide you need the help of a practitioner, then you can book in for a free 30-minute check-in. If you are an experienced gapster, then you can book straight in for just a one-off appointment. But that's people well and truly into gaps that know what they're doing and just need some help.
Awesome. And if you're in Byron Bay, just keep an eye out for Elyse.
Yeah,
you might be wandering around at the Mullumbimby markets or say hi.
Alex Stewart there one day, which was lovely.
Who did you meet?
Alex Stewart.
Oh, that's right. You did too.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
So, but yeah, if you're in the area, text me. Not text me, you probably don't have my number, but contact me on social media, Facebook or something. I love more friends. I don't have that many friends since I've been up here.
She's just moved, yes. So Elizabeth, who's an old Facebook friend of mine, asked on the chat group, have you moved there yet? So yes, Elizabeth, she has.
Yes,
so look her up.
Yeah, look me up. I'd love
Actually, you guys would get on well. You should definitely meet each other.
Yeah. So, and I'll start running some stuff up here in a little while.
That'd be good. Some talks.
In a couple of months. Yeah, I'll start running some different kind of workshops and stuff up here as well. So that'll be coming.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Always appreciate your time and expertise. It's very helpful.
Thank you. I love doing it.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. We'll be back next week with another podcast, and Fu should be back by then. He's been on a road trip. Oh, I'll probably talk about it in the intro anyway, so I'll add that at the start. But yes, he'll be back in another week or so, and we'll be nearly to 100, and you know who that one is, so keep an eye out.
Yay.
Yay. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks, Elyse. Bye.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.